And those of you entering, you're not supposed to be able to turn your camera on. Hi, Helen. Hi, Julie. Could you turn your cameras off? We're going to do this because we have so many people. The only people you're going to see are the presenters, okay? Even though I'd love to see you all, but we can't. All right.
So today we're going to see how Zoom handles the current crisis, right? A lot of teachers are worried because a lot of teachers are using Zoom.
Yeah.
On Monday morning, we'll see.
Yeah, it should be interesting. All right, let's see. So, let me just start here. We see you. We see me. Haha. You should have watched my thing the other day. What you need to do is get a piece of foam and put it underneath your mic. Because every time you type, I hear it.
Sorry?
Every time you type, I hear the banging. So put a piece of foam underneath your mic.
All right.
No, not now, but I mean, where's your microphone? Oh, that's a light behind you. I thought it was a mic.
No.
All right. So never mind.
People are asking about why you don't want the video on. I think it's just about in Belgium, we've not had a problem with Zoom. We've been using it for over a week. Okay, hopefully everything goes right with Zoom.
Yeah, let's make sure everything's all right. We're trying to broadcast it on live too. My preference is to just see the speaker in the recording, which is what we're shooting for. So there is no question and answer. So in that case, there really is not much of a reason to see everyone else. Maybe what we'll do at the end, we'll turn them on and we'll all say hi. Hey, it's working. All right, let's start recording. And bear with me for a second while I get everything going and set up. And yeah, usually I can see everything from what I'm used to using. And this is strange doing a webinar with Zoom with multiple people. And there. Now, you go away. So, is it time? It's time. So, hello and welcome everybody. I'm Rob Howard, and I'm the founder of EflTalks, and I welcome you here today. And just to let you know, we're using all new technology today. So bear with me. I'm doing this all by myself, and I'm trying to do 3 different things. I've got 3 computers running. Those of you who are entering the room, could you please make sure that your camera and your mic is muted? Please, we're just going to see the speakers today. And I can do some of it, but some of you have your cameras on. If you could turn, thanks. Great. So, to get started, let me tell you a little bit about EflTalks. And the slide to open. EFL Talks is something I started 5 years ago, and it's teachers teaching teachers. And the whole idea is what we're doing is trying to help the teaching community as a whole. And we're doing this all free. Everybody who's talking is a volunteer. Everybody who works here is a volunteer. We don't make any money. I don't have any sponsorship. We do this all on our own because we love you. Now, the little hook that I have to this, because there's so many webinars and so many different things on these days, is that what we do, they've only got 10 minutes to speak, and they can only use 10 PowerPoint slides. Okay? And if you think it's easy, it's not, because talking for only 10 minutes is difficult for teachers because they're used to talking forever. So, we'll see the fun. I will cut them off. EFL Talks. This is now, I believe, our 25th EFL Talk. So, congratulations. Yay! And we've just finished a fundraiser for Puerto Rico a little while ago. And next week, which I'll tell you about, we'll be doing another one. With everybody sitting at home, we'll definitely be doing a lot more EFL Talks in the near future. So stand by, and we hope you join us and follow us. Next. So far, we've got over 300 EFL Talkers. We've got over 450 hours of videos, which is 450 videos for 80 hours. And it's all teacher development. We're throughout the world. We've got over 1 million viewers, and we're glad that you're here today to join us. Now, how it works is after this, I'll be editing the videos, and all the videos will be going up on our YouTube channel, which if you go to our site, EFL Talks, this will allow you to then go to search by event, search by person at the YouTube site. Now, so far, we've got 182 women, 110 men, and a frog. A frog? Oh. So that gives us 192 non-natives, 100 native speakers, and one ribbitor. We're very proud. We're running about 62% for parity and equality. So we won the Eve of the Year award in 2018. And we'd like, if you can, help us spread the word. And I know a lot of you that are in Russia, this will really help. I don't have a VK account yet, which we're going to do in the near future and get that set up. Everything we usually do is on Facebook, but I'd like to get this going on VK. So what I want you to do is take your cell phone. When you see a good picture on the screen, just take a selfie and post it to your social media and help us grow. Because the whole idea is to grow throughout the world and build the largest network of teachers worldwide. Now, we have our Facebook group, for those of you who have it. It's EFL Talks. And we also, I set up a group last year. And what that group is, EflTD. So this is a group that you people, if you have some good information, something good to share with other teachers, post it on there and share it. Now, if you want to help us out, a few years back, We wrote EflTalks, the companion guide, and we'll do another one of these soon. Excuse me. I do not have coronavirus, so don't worry. We wrote a companion guide, and this was written by our um, guest speakers and our EFL talkers. And last year I came out with the EFL Talks cookbook. Now, this is actually a real cookbook. Our EFL talkers gave us some recipes. We'll have to do another one because I want some from Belarus, from Ukraine, from Russia, from Georgia, because this is all great food that I've been enjoying, and we need some more recipes. So you can help support us by buying the books. Just go to the site and you'll see all the links. This is quite a crew. You know, they say behind every great person is a great teacher. I've got 300 of them. And if you look through here, you'll see some familiar faces, I hope. The nice thing with EFL Talks, I don't care if you're famous like Jeremy Harmer, or if you're a first starting teacher in your first year of teaching, like my friend Kaylee here. You're all welcome. We all have something to share. And that's the idea of this community. Nobody is more important than anyone else, except for me, right? And so we'll get started in a minute. And just to tell you, we'll talk about this later at the very end. But next week, with everything that's going on, Italy is taking a real hit. I've been talking to my friends in Italy, and it's pretty depressing. So we're going to do a special one next week. It's going to be about tips for teaching online for everybody, but we want to try and show we care about Italy by saying hi and being there. So if you can join us again next week, I hope so. So now, what we're going to do is get started, and I want to thank my next guest. Does everybody know who you are?
I know who I am, yeah.
Well, um, I was lucky enough to meet Antoine, 3 or 4 months ago?
About, you know.
Yep. And he had the idea of putting this together, and he helped organize it. I thank him for it. He got us all our speakers, and this is great. I really appreciate it. And let me get your slides up. Okay. So I'm going to let everybody introduce themselves. You have remote control. We're going to get started. Remember, you got 10 minutes. I'm going to mute my microphone and camera so you can take it away. Okay? Go.
So I'm off, basically, yes? No introduction. All right.
You're up.
All right. So, as you said, it's very important. I'm proud to be here. It's very important at the moment to be talking about this, actually. I chose my topic a long time ago, but in the midst of all the solidarity that we need at the moment, I thought it's a perfect topic, developing emotional awareness. I only have 10 minutes, and I have a lot of plans for you guys. What I'm going to do in 10 minutes is show you how I explain what I do to my students, because I find it's very important for students to know what's going on in the classroom. Then I'm going to show you 4 different types of activities that you can easily implement in your lessons. It's types of activities, basically, that are going to help our students develop that very thing, develop in English more a listening and adapting, a responsive way of handling their conversations in English. So I always start by asking my students if they play chess. Rob, it seems I don't have control of these slides. I'm clicking. Oh, okay, the first one takes a while.
Yeah.
Yes? Am I clicking or are you clicking?
Hang on. I just clicked. Yeah, for some reason, I'll do it. Just,
So I say click when you should click.
yeah, for some reason it's not working with yours. It worked with everybody else's.
Yeah, it worked earlier.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, basically, so I asked my students, there we go. I asked my students if they like to play chess. And I have to be honest, I can play chess, but playing chess with me is going to be pretty much like that. I move my first pawn up one, and I'm really excited because I've got a good plan going on. I've got a great strategy prepared, and I expect you to move your pawn one. So Rob, go ahead, move your pawn one. Oh, wow. This is going according to my plan. Everything's perfect. So I'm going to move my next pawn two. Let's go with that, Rob. Ooh. My plan is really going well right now. And then you surprise me. Rob, there you go. Boom, your queen right in the middle of my defense, on the other side even. And that's how terrible a chess player I am. I mean, I can't adapt to that. I can plan my moves and this my dad, I remember when my dad showed me this the first time. I mean, I'm trying with my pawns to have some kind of opening in my defense and to trap you in. But if you do anything that goes against that strategy, I'm pretty much lost. There's not much I can do. So Rob, click, click, 2 clicks. This is really to show to students the difference between planning and preparing and listening and adapting. And chess here gives us an example of something that you master, whereas compared to something that you can do. Everybody, all of us in our native languages, we can easily both prepare and plan how we want conversations to go along and listen and adapt to the emotional cues that we hear and adapt our plans to that. In a second, third language, that is more and more difficult. If we don't develop the right reflexes, if we don't play with this, it's more difficult. As for a novice or amateur chess player, it's more difficult to listen and adapt. And so I'm going to show you 4 types of activities that I do in my lessons that help my students develop this listening and adapting, this responsive way of speaking in English. So next slide, Rob. Is it working? Right. Whenever I'm working with readings, texts, this, for example, is a real life text. It's an Apple PR statement. You can find it. The link is right there. Instead of doing traditional type reading activities, I'm going to ask my students to summarize paragraphs. You see on the left, there's summary, and the summary can be as simple as click, Rob. It can be as simple as this. So students are going to write, hey there, it's us. We hear you. And next, third paragraph, Rob. But we know best. This is my students just writing in a couple of words their summary of the paragraph they've just written. They've just read. And then, once they've summarized it, this is their first reading. So it's really about, this is more about analysis. And then I'm going to ask them to judge the audience reaction per paragraph, basically. So it's going to work like this. I'm going to ask them to put a plus or a minus every time they feel better or worse than their original feeling. Rob, again, click, plus, okay, my student is reading and is happy. Click again. Another plus, this first paragraph, very good. Another click. In this paragraph, minus. Another click. And another click. And there we have it. My student is just writing their reaction to what they read. And we can also have them write in audience thoughts and emotions. They can write justification for their pluses and minuses. So this is a typical way of doing reading activities that I find really useful. I call it running emotions. Instead of students taking reading text and just doing the traditional reading exercises, checking for comprehension, what they're doing is also thinking about the emotional reactions of the reader. And it's very important, things like email, business correspondence. This is a PR statement from Apple. A PR statement will be good if it calms down the audience. We should, in the end of this text, have a lot more pluses than minuses. Rob, we may click. So here they're writing, finally, so what's the deal? This is the emotion they're feeling while they're reading. Yeah, right, come on, I don't believe that. And again, Rob? Fair enough, okay. So this is how I'll run reading activities to help my students develop this emotional awareness in English. Next slide, Rob. Listening activities. I love playing emotions bingo. Instead of, again, my students only listening to the logic, only looking for information in any listening listening activity, I'll just surprise them by all of a sudden giving them an emotions bingo. And they'll play emotions bingo. They'll put crosses whenever they feel they have an emotion. They heard an emotion in the listening text. They have to justify it. So it works like this. Rob, click. There we go. The first student found it heard shy. Again, click. The second student agrees. They're listening to the text and they hear the person is being shy. Okay, Rob, click. Oh, the first student thinks the person is being formal. If they have a justification, very good. Second student, they felt they heard the impressed emotion, someone who was impressed. Third emotion, romantic. First student has got the bingo. They got 3 in a row. They did their emotions bingo. They were the first students to connect 3. And there we have it. Rob, we can go to the next one. So the second student agreed, but they didn't do a bingo. They didn't connect 3. So running emotions bingo. Finally, relationshiping. For any speaking activity, I will give my students very weird relationships, no matter what the role play is. So on the left, you kind of have conversation starters, things like that, and they can be serious, they can be a bit wacky. Did you hear that? Arr! Jack, is that you? And they have to start a conversation. The conversation starters can also be very formal. All right, I'd like to start this meeting by firing Bob. Last semester's report. Let's talk about last semester's report. Whatever the conversation starter is, I never leave them just with that. I will give them some relationship cards. And the relationship cards are supposed to put students in different levels of formality, but also familiarity. So 5-year-old best friends, an alien overlord and humans, a pet and its owner, a politician and a protester, foreign ambassadors, etc. All these relationships, I call them relationshiping. I will always put my students in a role play where they're in a relationship that they didn't expect. Because typically, students have trouble getting out of the normal level of formality and familiarity that they have. It's all about acting. And finally, writing activities. Rob, we're right on time. Finally, writing activities. I'm going to ask my students to set the tone before they go and draft and write their tasks. So typically, I like this one because I always struggled in giving my students opportunities to use politics vocabulary and things like that in a safe environment. So I'll give my students roles. So Rob, let's show the first role. For example, this is Candy Queen. This is a Magic World Leaders Summit. It's like a G8, but all the leaders of our very weird world, a bit like Harry Potter world. So this is the Candy Queen. She's very interested in increasing candy exports, increasing sugar, milk, fruit, butter imports, getting help with organizing an international dental center, blah, 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 blah. And I'm going to ask my students to think of 2 or 3 significantly, emotionally significant experiences in the life of the Candy Queen. And this is going to help set the tone for the writing. Rob, let's show another world leader. This is the Vampire King. He's interested in increasing donor blood supply, stop vampire discrimination in the media, because honestly, what's the big deal? Increase spider imports, blah, blah, blah. Increasing black and red clothing exports. Next world leader. Caveman King, well, he needs help getting help with building the cave center of basic medicine. They need to get 100 flashlights, 100 lighters, get help with constructing a first wheel. And last world leader, modern people prime minister. And so for each of these roles, they are going to prepare, they're going to think of 2 or 3 emotionally significant experiences to set the tone in their writing tasks. And there we have it. These 4 types of new ways of dealing with reading, listening, speaking, and writing activities. In every one, as you can see, I'm pushing the students to play with their listening, their adapting, and their responsive state while using English. That was just above 10 minutes, Rob. There's one more slide about the 5 pillars of identity, but we'll do that another time, I think. That's all the whole theory behind it, the pillars of identity.
Good work. And you almost did 10.
Almost did 10.
I gave you extra because of the fault of the slides. Great. Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Yay! Big round of applause. And thank you. We'll see you here throughout the day. Only a couple hours. And once again, thank you for helping me organize this. Everybody, it's great. And
my pleasure. It's great.
I can see us doing a lot more in the future, and we'll get the tech working perfectly. So we'll talk. Thanks.
My pleasure. Rob, Kate is saying that one speaker can't get in the conference because there are already 100 people.
Yeah, I keep trying to get Paulina in, and I think we're going to have to skip ahead until we can get her in.
Shall I exit?
No, don't. You don't have to do that. Is she? I'm getting the messages too. I keep sending her a message. She should come into the waiting room, but it's not coming.
Well, while you deal with that, do you want me? There were 2 questions I saw. Do you want me to answer questions?
Yeah, why don't you answer questions if you don't mind? I just found Elena coming in, so let me see.
All right. I noticed there were a few questions. So there was a question from Daria. Is listening relationships activity a bingo game? Listening relationships. Which one do you mean by that? Do you mean the so the bingo game? A bingo game is literally just like you give your students a grid, a table, 4 by 4, 4 by 5, and in each square there's an emotion. And all the students are doing is they cross out an emotion as they hear it while they're listening to whatever you give them. It can be a real life content like a TV show or something like that, or a meeting, something like that, or it can be an activity from a textbook. All the students are doing is they're ticking the emotions they hear from the participants in the activity. So that's it. It's just a simple bingo game, but I like it because students are always focused on the logical part. They're always looking for information. And in real life, I find communication is not just about listening to the information that the other people are giving you. It's a lot about listening to the emotional cues that you hear in those people and reacting, adapting. So that's the whole point of these activities. And second question from Nadia, do you adjust the writing activity to the student's level of expertise? Of course, of course. I just showed you an example called Magical World Leaders Summit because I really like playing with that. And it's very flexible. It's easy to adapt. You can do this with B1 students. You can do it with C2 level students as well, for instance. What they will do with it is going to be different, of course, but they're all capable.
Alright. Well, I'm not getting her in here, so I think we'll skip ahead and we'll keep trying, and then we'll put her back in. So, Elena, I hope you're ready. If you could turn on your camera. And as soon as one comes up, I'll bring her back in. So, Elena, you should be able to turn on
Yeah.
your mic.
Hello, yes, here.
There you are. Hello.
Finally.
Yeah. Well,
Okay, let's go for this 10-minute challenge.
it's gonna be fun, isn't it? It is a lot of fun, but it's a lot tougher than you think it is.
Yeah, I tried a few times at home. It was really challenging.
All right, let me make sure I get the right slides here. And let's see, we had his, and no, wait, that's Paulina's. Sorry.
No, it's not mine.
And it changes the order every time you open it. There we go. And I'm going to give you remote control.
Okay, so you're going to change the slides.
Well, you should be able to. It was only because he had some extra stuff in his that I think it didn't work. So, see in the bottom right-hand corner, you see the little arrow? You should be able to move it there.
No, I can't see it right now. Ah, yeah. Who's moving? Is it me?
That should be you.
Okay, that's good.
All right, so you're ready to go? You got 10 minutes. I'll be timing you.
Okay, yeah, I'm ready.
Take it away.
Okay, so hi everyone, and as usual, I'm going to talk about games. Okay, I know that the situation is getting a little bit tougher these days with all of us going online, but still all the principles of teaching and playing games, they still remain the same. Okay, and so when teenage students do sometimes refuse to play games or feel a little bit reluctant of playing games, what are the reasons for this? The first reason is that they feel really scared and insecure in their when they are come into the classroom, and if they don't trust those people who they work with. And why do we need games? So we can't play games with them, and we can't even work, and we can't even teach them English before we do some team building activities. I still don't understand who has to control their presentation. Okay, what can help us here? It's the knowledge of some team building techniques, and here in the picture you can see Tuckman's team and group development model. And as teachers, we don't have to think only about teaching English, we also have to think about teaching people. And any group goes through some stages while they work together. So the first stage is forming, the next one storming, norming, and performing. And actually, as we have a look at these stages from our own perspective as English teachers, and so we will see that in September everybody is shy and not ready to work. Then in October there are a lot of arguments in the group and sometimes even fights. And then only in November we can start working with our student productively. And if we know some of these team building techniques, it will help us to work more efficiently with our groups. And these days, when we all go online, so the question of team building will become even more crucial, because it is much more difficult to work to team build and to make groups online. I've been working with online groups already for a year, and I find it really difficult to put the group together, because I can't touch my students, they can't play tactile games. And now we are working on new procedures and new techniques, and actually we are going to talk about them next Sunday at one of our Trend English events. Okay, so I don't. Another reason why it might be difficult to play games with your teenage students, it is that we don't bring real games into the classroom. And I know these days when you are going online, you might still bring these type of games to your online groups. But why they don't work with those who are older? I don't know. Sometimes they don't work with those who are older than 6, because they are not games. They are broccoli in chocolate. So we just put our usual grammar exercise. And we cover boring grammar stuff with some chocolate. So we bring these dice, we bring this board, but actually you have to stop on the square and you have to give the correct answer. If you can't give the correct answer, you can't move forward. Well, there is no difference between this so-called game and grammar exercise. And our students who work with, who know what a real game is, they can see and they can taste this disgusting broccoli. And that's why they say, okay, let's do grammar exercise. I don't want to waste my time on these stupid activities, because, they don't really involve our students. What is a real game? A real game, it's a series of interesting decisions, of meaningful decisions. And I really like this diagram, which I took from the website, which is called Gamasutra, very interesting one. Don't confuse it with Kamasutra. Gamasutra, it's about games. Okay, any interactive activity. So everybody as English teachers, we call any interactive activity a game, but this is not true. Interactive activities are good for very young learners. When your learners grow older, they go to puzzles, word searches, crosswords. When your students go to primary school, or when they are aged 8, 9, 10, they start loving different type of contests. But when they grew a little bit more older, they want real games. And what is a real game? A game is a series of meaningful decisions. And if you just roll a dice, it doesn't mean, you can't influence the result on this dice. And if you are older than 6, you know this. And that's why all these snakes and ladders type of games, bingo, and so what else? Tic-tac-toe, tic-tac-toe, actually it can be a game, yes, but the strategy is very simple. But anyway, all these are games for young learners. They can't, they don't work very well with older students, because they don't give them enough cognitive load. So let's compare these two types of games. On one side, you can see, our traditional snakes and ladders. On the other side, you can see battleships. Battleships, this is in battleships you need strategy, and well, both games are used for our are used by us to drill grammar. But the game on the left, it doesn't work very well with older students. In battleships, I have to make meaningful decisions, I have to make my choices, and this really absorbs me into the game. Well, it doesn't matter how much time you take too long time, but well, that's a very good question. It usually takes too long, but if you do boring grammar exercises, it will take just as much time as playing battleships, but the result will be the same. Yes, but if when you play battleships, I mean, students will enjoy the process because, well, this game is emotionally charged and you don't focus on the game, you don't focus on grammar, you focus on the game goal, and you don't feel this boredom of drilling. Mhm. Okay, still I don't understand how to let me give you another example of a good game. We all do role plays with our students. Sometimes we have to role play the situation in a shop. You're a customer, you're a shop assistant. If you work with teenage students, they hate this type of activities, but what can we do? We can set some restrictions, some limitations, and turn this role play into a role play game. A game is in a game you have a possibility to make meaningful choices. Okay, I've got my character card, and on my character card I've got some information. I've got this amount of money, I like some colors, I hate other colors, and my clothing size is 8, and I can't get slimmer within this game. And I go shopping, and the winner is the person who buys more clothing items than anybody else. And then I have to make choices. Okay, can I buy this stuff for 45 pounds, or maybe it would be better to buy two things which are cheaper. And this makes this game interesting. Well, students like this type of games. I know that these days we don't play card games because we all go online, but we try to put in our study craft games, trend English games on mirror board, and it works perfectly well. So we can play card games with I can play card games with my students online using mirror. Okay. So if you want to learn more how to play real games and how to play them online, so you can subscribe to our oops, something went wrong. You can subscribe to our YouTube channel, Trend English Games, or find us on social networks. And we are going to put to post a lot of things on how to play games, and so we promise, so we will help everybody in this difficult situation when we all have to switch from offline mode to online mode, and now we are working on finding good solutions. Yeah, broccoli in chocolate. Well, this is a very good symbol of what our educational games look like for our students. And the main problem is that educational games are created by language teachers, English teachers, who are not game designers. And my advice is, well, if you have time, find a good online course on game design and learn how to design good games. Okay, thank you.
Wow, and you even did it under time. I'm impressed.
Yeah, so Rob, the problem, I couldn't understand who controls the
Yeah.
slide. You got, yeah, one slide was like for a few seconds, and then the other one stayed longer, and it was a little bit challenging for me.
Yeah,
Just,
I was just talking to the other Elena on the phone here. She's giving me advice from the YouTube channel. And like she said, we're all still learning this.
Yeah, that's
Because
true.
there's a lot of things I'm finding out about Zoom, that it's good, but I'm finding out a lot of things not to ever do again. So
Oh,
that
my
does
baby
kill
is
me.
here.
Like next time when I say enter the room a half an hour early, enter or you're never getting in. Right, Paulina? So, thanks so much. And that was great. And we'll be doing more in the future. Okay?
Okay, thank you. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye now.
Remember to have fun.
Okay, Paulina, you can let me unmute you.
Okay,
Hello.
can you hear me now?
I can hear you now.
Great.
Welcome. You finally made it
Better
in.
late than never.
Yeah, it
It's
was.
been a 40-minute battle.
Well, I don't know. The people on YouTube could see it. I was kicking people out so you could get in.
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
cruel, really.
I know it's very cruel of me. I'm sorry, people. But this is something we're trying to do Zoom for a webinar for the first time, which it's a
Right.
little quirky. It's not what I normally use. I'm
Yeah.
using OBS software, and this OBS software allows you to live stream onto YouTube, and that causes different problems. So
I
this
see.
one's going to be
Yeah,
great.
things get out of hand.
Oh yeah, this is it.
All right. Um, how about the slides? And will you click on the next slide?
No, it's going to work for you. Trust me.
Oh, great. Great. Just, oh.
Let me call up the
Mhm.
slides. Hang on. And this is one thing which is really strange because it keeps changing the order every single time. All right, you see this
Okay, I
now?
see my slides. Okay, how do I click on the next one?
In the bottom right hand corner, you should see a bracket, and I've just given you control. Right below your one, do you see that?
Now I see record reactions, and leave meeting, but this is definitely not what I want to do now.
No,
You
that's not it.
know, I probably don't have the rights now. I mean, I can
View
just tell you.
settings. Yeah.
Yeah, okay, all right. Okay, so my 10 minutes start now, right?
Yes, take it away.
Okay, let's go. So thank you very much for your patience. And I'm going to talk about revision and recycling, which has been a huge pain for a lot of teachers and a lot of courses. And I'm going to start with this first proposition. If we learn and we don't revise, we forget. Probably lots of you heard about this Ebbinghaus forgetting curve, that you forget like 50% after you finish, the next day after you've learned something, and so on and so forth. And to learn a word, we need to revise it. And here again, the researchers have a lot of different ideas about how many times you need to revise to really remember the word. There's a lot of speculation, a lot of research that is sometimes counterproductive here. And the third truth that we know is that not a single course book can really ensure that much revision and that many instances of repetition or revision. And that's why we need to invent the tools to make sure that what we learn, we don't forget immediately, and we recycle and revise them somehow. And in my presentation, I'm going to give you 4 recipes of what you can do. So recipe number 1, the next. We often hear, just read as much as you can. But you may ask, like, how much is enough? And here I've come up with some calculations. These are not my own. These are taken from Paul Nation's research. And he's an academic who has done a lot of vocabulary research, and particularly learning vocabulary from reading. And these are some of the estimates to give you an idea of how much you can read
in how much time to make sure that you revise and recycle the vocabulary at a particular levels. There are two buts that I want to start with, because this all is applicable only if you choose the right level for reading. And the level is that you need to have at least 95 to 98 of the words that should be known to you. In a simpler words, it means that you need to have no more than one new word every fifth line. And this is, you're gonna have this 98 percentage of coverage. And also we have individual differences in current levels. So it doesn't mean that if you read now for 25 minutes a day, in a year you're gonna be B2 level. But still, if you take these two things into account, in a single year, and we mean here academic year, so around 40 weeks, it is possible to cover words up to and including B2 upper intermediate by reading 25 minutes a day at appropriate level. If you read for 42 minutes a day, so you're going to cover the corpus of language for roughly C1 advanced. And if you read for 51 minutes a day, you're going to cover the corpus for C2 proficiency. Even though this is a very rough estimate, it still gives you an idea that this is feasible. This is something possible if you develop a nice, good habit of reading a bit every day or regularly. Next slide, please. Recipe number 2. So just put all of this, all of the information on the slide. Just click one more time, I guess. Recipe number 2, gapped sentences. Again, we all know this thing, but it's again about developing a good habit. What I recommend to teachers is that you choose around 5 to 10 items you've taught recently in your previous lessons. I usually take 10 items. I prepare gapped sentences with the target word or collocation on board, or as we talk now, teaching online, I prepare a Word document with gapped sentences, and I teach only online nowadays, so I prepare it beforehand. I don't take time to, write all these 10 sentences. Then I ask students to write gapped words in their notebook, so they try to remember as many items as they can, and they write down in their notebooks. We check either in pairs, or I basically let them shout out what they remember. And those students who remember, they feel particularly proud or accomplished. And those who don't remember, they still revise. Yeah, so they still refresh the vocabulary item in their memories. I use it personally as a warmer at the beginning of a lesson. So I have a session in Zoom, and I started, let's say, 10 minutes before the session, the lesson. I share my board and I share these 10 sentences. And as people enter the conference, they have some time to take a look at the sentences, to revise, to discuss, particularly those who enter earlier. They start discussing the things that they remember or they don't. And then we revise it all together. The next one, please. These are 4 ways of gapping sentences, because you may make it more harder for your students or shorter for your students, depending on how much challenge you want to give them. I will not go into much detail now because I lack time here, obviously, but you're going to see on this slide, so you can just gap without giving one first letter. You can give 3 contexts for one word so that your students learn more about collocations. You can make their job a bit easier with putting one letter, with the first letter at the beginning, so it's going to help them to remember what exactly they need to remember. Yeah, it really limits the range of the vocabulary they may think of. You may make it even easier to write 2 first letters and write the first letter and the last letter. So I encourage you to experiment with these ways. And again, some of the things make your students' life a bit easier, some a bit harder, but at different stages of the course, you may experiment with this or that strategy. The next one. Now, again, click double time. Yeah. So flashcards. This is my third recipe. Again, you all heard of good flashcards and good old Quizlet. I love Quizlet. I use it a lot in my teaching. But there are just a couple of tips about how to make your flashcards more effective and help learners remember collocations and context. I encourage you to give precise and short definitions. Get 3 or maximum 5 most frequent collocations, and I encourage you to consult the dictionary here. You may give the first letter of the target word or phrase, provide illustrative examples. You can either take them from the course book or from dictionary or from corpus, depending on what you prefer, and provide visuals if possible. And if you scan this barcode, you can take a look at my very short Quizlet set that is based on the previous gap sentences that we just didn't have time to look at carefully. But if you want to learn what were the words in these gap sentences and you want to see how it works, please scan the barcode and try it for yourself. The next slide, please. These are a couple of things you can do with Quizlet in class. If it's a face-to-face class, you can print the cards and do 2 types of revision. Retrieval revision, when you look at the back of the card and say the word. This is what you're used to. Or there's also can be backwards revision. You look at the word and try to remember the context or the example at the back. And you can also initiate a conversation and discussion. So this is what we call personalization. An example of it could be, for example, a word garrulous. Who can be garrulous? What would they tell you? How to get rid of them? And a post-activity can be that you create a test based on words learned or revised in Quizlet. Quizlet allows you lots of ways and opportunities to create sets and tests. The next one, please. And just click one more time. Just a couple of things about why Quizlets are so good. So here I cited some of the researchers that learning from cards is focused, efficient, and certain. It provides the kind of knowledge needed for language use, and it's good for both receptive and productive learning. And there's also had been a study where they show that deliberate learning of vocabulary becomes both implicit and explicit knowledge. So this is a sort of knowledge that stays with you for years, and there were really experiments that showed that. Next slide. And recipe number 4. This is an activity that some of you may heard of. It's called 432, and this is a speaking task. I put A2 plus, meaning that you can adapt this to all sorts of context when your students are able to be more or less fluent. So this is usually A2 plus. And it goes like that. You choose a speaking task from a previous class, give students thinking time, revising the notes, then students talk to their partner for 4 minutes, then the partner just listens, then they change partners and repeat the task for 3 minutes, and then they do the third run and squeeze it in 2 minutes. There's a lot of benefits, and so these are the scientific benefits of this activity. Again, in Zoom, you can reshuffle them in pairs and see how it works. And again, this is a fluency and accuracy activity that helps to revise a lot of vocabulary. This is it. So if you click on this, if you scan the barcodes, you can take a look at my YouTube channel, my Facebook, my Instagram. So join me, add me as a friend. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thanks, Paulina. That was great.
Thank you.
And 10 minutes isn't as easy as you thought, is it?
Yeah, so that was around 12 minutes, right? Because of this all slides clicking, it's a bit confusing. Yeah.
Well, thanks so much. And
thank you.
We'll talk soon, I hope.
Yeah, thank you. Have a nice time. See you. Bye-bye.
Bye now. Okay, and next up, Katerina.
Hello.
Hello. Let me get your slides.
Okay, Rob, I've seen our speakers have problems controlling the slides. How about I share them from my screen? This works, I think, a
No,
little
we
better.
gotta make sure this is gonna work. All right, let me try. Since you know what you're doing, you know what? I want to see what happens if you do it that way.
Yeah, okay?
Yeah, share from your screen.
Yeah, let's
Try
just
this.
try. Because I think it may really help. Okay, does that seem okay?
Yeah. Okay. And let me just make sure. All right. Yeah, it's broadcasting like that. All right, so I think I just lost you. Where'd you go? No, stay there. All right, so you ready? You got 10
Yeah,
minutes?
okay,
Go.
okay. So, hello everyone, my name is Katerina Stashevska, and today I'm going to talk about one of my favorite type of projects you can do with young learners, and that is making a book together. And we know writing is not something students are really very enthusiastic about, especially children. But when I say, now we are going to make our own books, students are really excited, and making books really tricks them into writing and makes this activity interesting and enjoyable. So, how do I do that? Okay, I am a picture book lover, and we do not just read picture books in our classroom because we are learning language. We also have some follow-up activities, and reading a picture book may result in doing a role play, making a poster, making a toy, or sometimes making a book. And here on the photos, you can see some of the books which I find really useful and which I use a lot in my classroom with different groups of students, which can be easily turned into models for creative writing. So let me show you a few examples of what may be done easily in class with your students. One of the books I can highly recommend you is Ketchup on Your Cornflakes, written by Nick Charette. And this is a mix and match book. So you have some really crazy combinations in the book. For example, do you like ketchup in your bath? Or do you like milk on your egg? Or do you like milk on your toes? And so on. So, this is a great book to teach the question, do you like? To your young learners, to kindergarten students or first graders, for example. And we read the book, and if the pattern is new to my students, I can teach them to answer yes, I do, no, I don't. And we read the book and we answer the question. So I ask the students, do you like ketchup on your in your bath, for example? And when students say, no, I don't, yucky, I may ask them, okay, how do you like ketchup? And they may say, okay, I like ketchup on my spaghetti, or I like ketchup on my steak, and so on. And then I tell them, okay, now we are going to make our own book. So I give every student a sheet of paper and ask to fold it in half and crease it, but we do not cut it yet. And I ask them to write on the top part, do you like, and draw a picture, and on the bottom part, in, on, or with, and draw a picture too. For example, do you like oranges in your fruit salad? And then I collect all the pages and I put them together and I cut the book into halves. And here it is, our own book called What Do You Like? And we have some really interesting options. For example, do you like tomatoes in your salad? Yes, I do. Do you like tomatoes on your cake? No, I don't. And do you like ice cubes in your lemonade? Yes, I do. Do you like ice cubes on your burger? No, I don't. Yucky. So we have a book which we have made together. And then I copied the book at home on my printer, and I've made a copy of the book for every student in the group. And they took them home, and they were really proud to show them to their parents, grandparents, and friends at school and teachers. And they were really excited about making something in English, something real life with their own hands. Another book, which may be turned into your picture book project, is called Where's the Green Sheep by Mem Fox and Judy Hossack. And it goes like this. Here's the blue sheep, and here's the red sheep. Here's the bad sheep, and here's the bad sheep. But where is the green sheep? And you also have here the bad sheep and the clown sheep, or the car sheep and the train sheep and the starship and so on. And I thought it would be a great way to show my students how nouns can work as adjectives in English. So I prepared some small pictures of black and white cats, and every student got a small cat, and we made our own book together. Every student had one page of their book, and it's called Where's the McDonald's Cat? And this is our McDonald's cat at the end of the book. And we also have the Christmas cat and the magician cat, and, for example, the present cat, or the vampire cat, or, for example, the flag cat, and so on. So every student got a cat and a piece of paper, and they made a page about a cat they wanted to talk about. And after that, I asked them to make a similar book at home, and they chose their own characters, for example, a bear, and they brought the books into the classroom, and we read them together, and we tried to memorize as many characters as possible from our books, and we asked each other questions, and every author got a big round of applause, which made them really proud. And I made a display of the books, and then students took them back home to show and to be proud of. Okay, one more book which you can use again in class is Red Rockets and Rainbow Jelly by, again, Nick Sherratt and Sue Heath. And this is a super useful book if you want to teach your young students this tricky little S in the third person singular, which they tend to forget all the time. And it goes like this. This is Nick, this is Sue. Nick likes red apples, Sue likes green pears. Nick likes yellow socks, Sue likes yellow ducks. Nick likes pink and orange dinosaurs, and Sue likes red rockets and red dogs, and so on. And we practice this as in likes. So I asked students to think of our own characters, and they came up with Harry and Christina. And every student had made a page about Harry and Christina. They chose something to write about, for example, juice, or car, or kite, or balloon. And this is something we have in our book. For example, Harry likes plum juice, and Christina likes tomato juice. Harry likes blue cats and blue cats, and Christina likes pink toys and pink cats. Harry likes cherry ice cream, and Christina likes coconut ice cream, and so on. So every student contributed one page, and then they put them together. And again, at home, they made their own books about their own characters, which they shared next lesson in class and enjoyed listening to each other and presenting their books. One more book which can be useful for you if you are teaching young learners is a book, Peppa's Busy Day, from Peppa Pig series. And it has this clock which students like interacting with. And first we read a book about Peppa's Day. It's good for practicing present simple. And then every student got a piece of a sheet of thick paper. And onto the sheet of thick paper, I fixed a clock with moving hands. To fix a clock, you need these little things called rods. You can get them in special shops for scrapbooking or crafts. And I also attached a few sheets of white paper here, and every student wrote about their day. Like, I get up at 7 o'clock, I have breakfast at 7:30, I go to school at 8 o'clock, then I come home at 1 o'clock, and so on. And finally, another project I'd like to share with you is a book, and it's again by Nick Shred. Okay, you may guess I'm a big fan of his. And it's our Halloween project. It's called What's in the Witch's Kitchen. And this book has these fancy two-sided flaps. For example, what's in the fridge in the witch's kitchen? Bats with fleas or tasty cheese. What's in the tin in the witch's kitchen? Spiders and snakes, or biscuits and cakes, and so on. So we made our own similar book, and it's called What's in Witch's House. And I showed my students how to make these two-sided flaps. It took me a little while to figure out myself how to do it, but I was really determined to reproduce the book. And here are pages made by students. For example, what's in the wardrobe in the witch's living room? And here's a zombie head. Here's a pretty hat. Or what's under the carpet in witch's bedroom? Or I think I have to find a brighter page to show you what's in the fridge in the witch's kitchen. Here's a kind cook. And here's a ghost book. Or what's in the shower in the witch's bathroom. And here we have Halloween balloons, and here we have witch's boots, and so on. So you can see the possibilities are endless. Just choose a book, and it has to be a book with a simple repetitive pattern, and brainstorm collocations or useful words if necessary, and make a book together, and then either ask students to make a similar book at home, or copy the book if you have a colored printer for every student, and read them together, give every author applause, praise them, make a display to make them really proud of their work. That's it. Thank you for listening. And if you have any follow-up questions, feel free to contact me. I'll be glad to answer your questions. Okay, almost in time.
Great. Yeah, you were close. That was good.
Thank you.
Thank you. Your idea worked well. It seems to be working much better if you share your screen.
Okay.
My learning curve is flattening.
Okay, thank you. It was an amazing experience.
Great. Well, really appreciate it, Katerina, and hope to have you again real soon, okay? Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so next up, we'll try this now with the screen sharing, and Anita, if we'll unmute you here.
Yeah.
And
please let me show my video.
yes, show your video. Why is it not coming on?
Because the host has stopped it.
And I can't. There we go.
Yes.
There we go. And do you have yours up on the screen so you can share your screen? We'll do it that way.
Yes, I did prepare it. I hope I don't have anything extra on my screen.
Take off those pictures of me that you have.
Okay. Only for today.
Okay. So
Here it is. I'm not sure. Yeah, can everybody see it?
Yep. It's
okay.
So
yeah, with
10 minutes, you ready to go?
Yeah, so I don't have extra time because of that slides, right? That's not fair.
All right. Well, take it away.
Yes. Okay. Starting. Yes. Right. Hello, everybody. My name is Anita, and I'm actually an offline teacher. I prefer teaching offline groups, and I was supposed to be talking about creating personalized classroom audio materials for your students. But I'm not going to be talking about this today. Somehow this week, the topic of online seemed to be much more relevant. And that's why we decided to change my topic. And I know a fair bit about online because I have an online project for teachers. And so I've been doing that online as well for more than a year. But again, for now, I mostly teach offline groups. And this week I had to move them to online, as many of you have had to do it too. And I'm going to share my experience. And I'm not the first speaker. I'm right in the middle. So I guess you're rather tired by now because there's so much useful information and so many things to learn. So for now, you can relax a little bit. My talk will be, I would say, more motivating than practical. So you can take your time, take a cup of tea and listen to my story. I'm going to share a personal failure. So I failed real big last week when switching to online, and I'd like to share it with you so you're not that stressed about your online teaching. So the plan, is to share my experience, the lessons I learned from it, and I'm also going to add a little bit of practical stuff. So I'm going to answer 2 questions I had to answer about Zoom about 100 times this week, I think. And I'm going to save my time, your time, by sharing it in just 2 slides. But of course, you can't become an online teacher after just, listening to a 10-minute talk, or even after having done it for a week. And if you need extra help about, knowledge about Zoom or something, first of all, check the Zoom videos on YouTube. But you could also ask me for some materials, and I'll be happy to share them with you. So first thing you need to do, if you're in the same situation and you have to move your classes to online, is to get ready to prepare. I think that maybe we sometimes forget about it, but online is not only about tools and Zooms and Quizlet, it's also about the equipment you have. And so this is my office, my home office that you can see. I was lucky that I bought a web camera and a selfie tripod ages ago. So you can see them here. And this what makes my teaching life a little bit better. And I'll tell you why. Also, important stuff to have when you teach online is a cup of coffee, a glass of water, and hand cream, because I'm sitting next to a radiator and I really find this very useful. So going back to the camera and tripod thing, the other day I asked on my Facebook, I asked my friends, like, what problems do you have with your students switching to online? And somebody shared that some of the students don't want to switch the camera on. If you have the same problem, please send something to the chat. And one of the reasons why students don't want to switch their camera on is that, and not only because they want to do some stuff they don't want you to see, but also because they don't like themselves on camera. So I don't know if you've ever experienced this, but sometimes you turn your camera on and you look ugly and you don't like yourself. Have you ever had this? When you switch your laptop, start Zoom class, and your makeup is there, your background is okay, everything's nice, but it just don't want to see yourself in the camera. This usually happens is because of the wrong equipment. So here are 2 screenshots. I know that they seem a bit similar maybe now, because yes, I took them yesterday and the light was good it was a sunny day. But here you can see me without camera. It's my laptop, my laptop camera, the pre-built one. And this is same me, same second, maybe second later, with the camera and the tripod. So I look different. I like myself more in this picture. The camera kind of looks down on me, but it makes my face look slimmer. And because it's a camera. It's a web camera. It's not a professional camera or anything, but it makes my skin look better and everything. So if you are going to spend so many hours online, I do recommend you to buy something like this. So you can add it to your shopping list together with all the food we're buying right now, and you'll enjoy your online experience much more. And you can also recommend your students to do that, because it will make their experience better. I guess they will be loving lessons more when they see a nice picture of themselves. So next step is switching your students to online. Yeah, when you have the equipment and everything. And here's my failure story. Last week, I had to have my first online lesson with my usually offline group. They work for a telecom company, and I was surprised that they didn't want to go online, but in the end, they agreed. And our lesson was our lessons usually start at 8:30. And on Thursday, our first online lesson, when I was supposed to teach them how to use Zoom, I wake up at 9:10. Can you imagine? 40 minutes into the lesson already, I wake up. So I believe you can't do worse, you know? This is the worst thing you can do, is oversleep the lesson where you're supposed to encourage your students to go online. This is what I read on my screen. So if the experience is funny, please make comments that it's funny, because it is funny. And I start reading this chat, and I can see that basically the notice that I overslept because they were there. I wasn't. And then I keep scrolling down, and then I see this amazing phrase: "We can test Zoom anyway," they decide. I'm so lucky. And when I read this, I was like, okay, I went to wash my face, and then I wrote a very apologizing text like, "Sorry guys, I overslept and I'm really ashamed. I'm never going to teach again," or something. And then I received this. Can you believe it? This is my elementary student writing. Like, you connect, like, "Teacher, are you coming? Yeah, we're here. Where are you?" And you can see it's like already 40 minutes into the lesson. And then she says, "Yeah, we're doing exercise number 1. So what happened is that they started testing Zoom, and then they decided, okay, they're there, Zoom is working. They can have a lesson without the teacher. So I'm sharing this story with you because I learned a very important lesson, is that, first of all, and I don't have it on the slide, that we should give our students like more credit, and they're capable of more than we expect from them. Sometimes we need to give them a little bit more autonomy, but also this urgent and temporarily transition to online is not our responsibility. Yeah, it's not us teachers who created this, and it's not, we're not making our students switch to online. We're just helping them, and we're providing high quality English lessons in very new circumstances for us. And we're in this together with our students, so we can learn together. And don't be afraid if you don't really know how to use Zoom. You can share it with your students, and they will, you'll do it together. And anyway, I'm pretty sure that nobody's going to oversleep their lessons like I did. So anyway, your week is going to be much better than mine. But I think my students really enjoyed that I, showed them that I'm a human being. Anyway, some tips about Zoom, because Zoom is the best tool for lessons like this. The breakout rooms, the feature we need to split students into groups, is free. It's always free. Basically, free Zoom and paid Zoom have absolutely the same features. The only thing that in free Zoom, your lessons should be shorter, but now I think they canceled this for so many countries and for Russia as well. So, but to enter the breakout rooms, you need to set them in the meetings. So you need to go to the Zoom profile settings on the website, go to advanced, and then click this little thing. And only then you'll have this feature on your app. And only on your computer app. You can't have breakout rooms on the phone. And so the breakout rooms will be here. This 4 squares, or if they're not there, you press here and they'll be here. This is my tip number 1. Tip number 2, sound sharing. If your students can't hear you, it means that you haven't turned it on. When you share your screen, don't forget to tick here, share your computer sound. Or you can go to advanced features in sharing screen and just choose the computer sound only, and then your students will hear you. I guess this is all my 10 minutes. If you need any materials on online, PM me. I'll send you something that I have. Follow me on Facebook, on Vkontakte. I'm Anita Modestova. I'm the only one. Oops, this is my timer. I'm the only one on every social media. And I also have a project for teachers. It's called Teachers Teach Teachers. I hope I'm not breaching any copyright with Rob, who has teachers teaching teachers. I just learned it yesterday that we have a little bit mix up here. And send me an email or drop me a line if you need any help. We have some materials done together with my Teachers Teach Teachers community, then we can share with you. That's it, I guess. Thank you. I'm going to read the chat now.
Great. Great job. No, I won't sue you for the Teachers Teach Teachers.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I am a little jealous, though. You have more hearts than I got from Trendy.
But I was a moderator, maybe, and also curls. I guess curls, I recommend,
I'll let mine keep growing and get the curls.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That was great, Anita. Thanks so much. And
You're welcome. Thanks for inviting me.
keep teaching teachers, and we'll have you back. Okay.
Okay. You too.
All right. Bye now.
Bye.
Great. So next up we have Tatiana. And hang on while I get. All right. We've got Kim. Let me get.
Hi everyone, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Great. So should I share my screen?
Yeah, why don't we do it that way? It seems to be working.
Yeah.
Best.
Yeah. Can you see my screen now?
Yep, just F5 and go into the presentation. There you go.
Yeah?
And
Ready?
you all ready to get started?
Yeah, let's get started.
Well, you got 10 minutes. Take it
Yep.
away.
Remember. Hi everyone. I'm very, very glad. I'm super excited here to be talking at EflTalks to share cream of the crops with you. To be used in the classroom. The idea of my talk is sharing teaching tips and ideas how to teach very young learners. I'm a person who is in trouble now, as probably you can guess, because I've been teaching groups of very young learners for a while, for many years, and now I've got a challenge to go online with them. But my talk is going to be about teaching them to speak. And I do hope that you will find some tips helpful for online as well. If you need some more tools for online practice with very young learners, let me know. I'll tell you at the end of my talk. So here we go. And the reason why I chose this topic is that in my personal opinion, we do undervalue ability of learners to speak, ability of very young learners to use the language that they can use. So here on the slide, you can see authentic structures and constructions that my students learn first of all, despite the fact that they come to my classes only twice a week. I strongly believe we can activate our kids' innate ability that is given by the nature to use a foreign language if we give them enough room for practice. So here we go. I'm going to share some techniques with you to be used in your classroom. And the very first technique I'd like to share with you is using gestures. Very helpful for real-life communication, isn't it? We tend to think of real-life communication while teaching adults to speak, but what about very young learners? They do talk a lot in their real life, and why not teach them in the most appropriate way they can absorb it? So, the way it works in practice is the following. Key words, key gestures. By key gestures, I mean some meaningful things that you can do with your fingers and going online with your face as well. While talking about high frequency words for this level and age. On your screen now, you can see the high frequency words for 4 years olds. And this is the way it works in practice. First, teacher and student show and say at the same time, then only student show and say and teacher shows if necessary. And at the last level, students say without gestures and the teacher is able to jump in only if absolutely necessary. And here are some words that need gestures, in my opinion. For example, I, you, can, am, is, are, which I believe is a very big problem, eat, what, and like. Like in this way can be a great challenge for very young learners of 3 years old. That's why we have to think of kids' ability while inventing an appropriate gesture for them. So my option for like is this way, because dexterity of kids of 3 years old is very different. As a follow-up, I would offer you a miming game, which can be played in two ways. You might show them a sentence, for example, "What am I doing?" I hope you can guess the sentence, "You're peeling a banana." But don't forget about the second option of this game, which means if you've learned some particular authentic constructions and structures like this, for example, this gesture means for us, got it. Got it. Come on. I've finished. That's it. So here, as a miming game, you might practice this kind of gestures, which your students will do. And the other person in pairs, it should be played in pairs, and the other person will have to guess what their partner is showing. And that's the idea of a miming game. The second technique is using lesson time effectively. And here is my checklist for you. Do you use much pair work in your classroom? A lot of teachers believe it's not possible with very young learners. I do know it is, and even going online, it is quite possible with possibilities of Zoom. Then, what about student talking time, and teacher talking time? In my opinion, we can reduce teacher talking time, especially while talking about very young learners, because if we let ourselves speak as much as we can, there will be no time for students. What about TPR approach? While using a lot of movements in the classroom and even in online lessons, while using a lot of actions here, jumping, running, using facial expressions, why not motivate and encourage your students speak while moving, coloring and playing? What about watching video? Isn't it very natural to talk about what you are watching? For example, asking your students, who is this girl? How old is she? What are they doing? What have they done? And so on and so forth. And my third advice is about transitions. You definitely use transitions. By transitions, I mean some activities, probably TPR activities, which connect different parts of lesson, link them. I call them bridges because, in my opinion, according to the logics of my lesson and according to the lesson structure, they connect two parts of lesson, any parts of lesson, and they should be logically explained. For example, my students stand in a line and start physically walking one next to another and saying some sentences, answering my questions, for example. While talking about cooking, they can be answering my questions like, what are you doing? We are going home. What are you going to do at home? We are going to cook. And that's it. It seems to me a very logical thing on the one hand and a very useful help and practice for speaking on the other. As a follow-up here is a tidy up game. By tidy up game, I mean a game when you have to tidy up all the materials away from your table to place them where they are stored. So, for example, if you have a lot of toys on your table, you have to ask, can I call all the animals, please? And your students give you all the animals saying something. That's the idea. They might say, here you are, or a cat goes to Tatiana, the dog went home, whatever you like, whatever you've learned. Don't forget to let your students be the teacher, the leader of the game. That's the idea. And the third technique, which I'd like to share with you, is definitely materials to dive for. If a child is passionately eager to possess some toy, at least for some time, you can use this intense desire in your own purpose to let your students pick and to unlock their potential. So, materials should be definitely bright, different in shape, sizes, and texture. And by the way, while talking online, it's pretty possible to to do it even online, asking your parents of your students, as I do, to prepare some kind of materials that are possible to be prepared. So they are very easy to use as well, and they are multifunctional. So if you are looking for a magic button for let your students speak and to give them an opportunity to use their natural ability to learn speaking, this is materials, definitely, because they can use them in the most authentic way as it's possible. For example, while helping the teacher, while doing something in your classroom, if you're working offline, you can ask them to help. Can you please help me tidy up this? And they can comment it. Asking for a toy, for example, while taking out a toy like this, you can ask them to ask for it. Can I have a piece of watermelon, please? Here you are. Describing a toy. What kind of watermelon would you like to get? So they have to name it. They have to describe it. And definitely responding to what happens in the classroom while playing. One more game that you might also use with your students, both online and offline, is Little Mouse game. So that's it. These are the plastic cups, and the way you play it is that you hide the mouse. Let me show you it for the online option. You hide the mouse in the plastic cup, and it's there, and they have to guess where it's hidden. So the reason why I adore this game is that it has a great potential for speaking. So you might ask your students to practice very authentic constructions here, and my students of 4 and 5 years old do practice the constructions and structures you see on the slide. The thing that I would like to draw your attention to is that we are in charge. We teachers of very young learners are in charge of everything. And now, when our students go online, we're still able to let them speak. Thank you very much.
Great. Perfect timing, too. Well, Tatiana, thank you so much. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
Are you allowed to take bets when they're looking for the mouse?
Yeah. It was great. Thank you.
A lot of money that way. So
thank you. Thank you for the opportunity. Thank you.
Bye. Okay, so next up, Artem. And let me unmute your mic. There you go.
Okay, hello.
Hey, how are you? Do you have your presentation there to share?
Yeah, I think I should be able to share.
Because it
Right.
is better this way when it's broadcast.
Do you see my computer now?
Yeah, just hit F5 to start it off.
Sure. So guys, hello everyone. Hello. Well, I cannot see the chat, I think. Well, no, I can actually. So how are you today? I'm going to speak about using phones in your classroom today. And one of the reasons I decided to speak about this is that teachers usually find it challenging. Sometimes the students use their phones. They use them all the time. If you've got this problem, please write yes, I've got this problem in the chat. Or no, everything is okay. I don't mind phones in the classroom. So or you can just write a plus. So this is one of the solutions. I just bought a phone prison on AliExpress. It was like 1,000 rubles, and we just put all our phones into the prison. And then when the lesson's over, I give the phones back to my students. Yeah, I see some some people hate phones, but they don't have to be our enemies. They can be our friends too, right? So how can we use phones in our classroom? Well, for example, you can take a picture of some object at home. Well, for example, what's this? What do you think it is? Can you type it in the comment section? what is that? What can you see? What is that? So you just take a small a picture, a photo of a part of an object, a cookie, sun, a bear's paw. Well, now look, this is my Skype buddy. This is Mr. Red. Hello, everybody. This is his hair. So what can you do if you study furniture? You can take a picture, take a photo of a small piece of a sofa or a table or something, and then you bring these photos to the lesson and you show the photos to your students, and they're trying to guess what it is. You can easily do this now that we all teach on Skype. This is a very good idea. And after that, my students take their phones from the phone prison and they walk around the school and they take a photo of something else. A sofa, I don't know, the desk or the board, something, a small piece. And then they work in pairs. Student A shows the pictures to student B, and student B is trying to guess what it is, right? On Skype, you can also do the same. You can just show a small piece of something. For example, what do you think it is? Can you type it in the comment section? What is that? I don't know. A pencil. Yes, Atlanta. Excellent. So you can basically do the same. But in the classroom, you can use phones for that. You can even prepare a list of different adjectives like sharp, funny, big, small, fat, strange, ugly, and so on. Just a list of adjectives. They take the phones from the phone prison, walk around the school, and they need to take a photo for every adjective. Okay? When they come back, they show their pictures to the partner and they explain why they decided to take this picture. For example, I decided to take a picture of these scissors because they're dangerous. Scissors are dangerous because you can accidentally cut off your fingers. Okay. Well, many years ago, a Hungarian painter, Karinyi Zolatan, decided to make photos like this. So he basically printed a black and white old picture, and he went to the place where, to the actual place where this photo was taken, and he took the second photo, and it looks like a window into the past. Really nice, right? So you can find a lot of old pictures on this site. It's called www.forteplan.hu. I'm not sure about your city, but I have found a lot of photos of Moscow and St. Petersburg. So this could be a great idea for a project when your students print pictures, go to different places in the city and make these cool looking photos. And when they come back to the classroom next lesson, you could speak about these pictures using, say, past continuous. For example, a woman was sitting, a man was walking, some people were getting on a bus, and so on. So past continuous. Or there was a fountain, but now there isn't a fountain. Or there was a restaurant, but now there isn't a restaurant. So you can use different. You can use it for different grammar purposes. Well, you definitely know this activity. Well, let's try. Who is this girl? She's wearing a blue jumper, black jeans, black boots, and a bag. Who is that? Can you type it in the comment section? Who is that? Number 8, number 10, number 11. She's wearing a blue jumper. She has got a white and black bag. Number 4. Excellent. Great job. So you can ask your students to bring the photos of their classmates on their phones, and you can do the same in pairs. So student A is describing someone, student B is guessing who it is. Or at the end of the lesson on Monday, you can take a selfie with yourself and your students. And next time on Thursday or on Friday, they'll have to remember who was wearing what. What was Seryoja wearing? Was he wearing jeans? No, it's not correct. You can check. So you show the picture and they can check. A lot of celebrities post photos of their breakfast on Instagram. Do you ever post photos of your food? Please let me know in the comment section. I really want to know this. I never do that, but we can use their Instagram or Buzova's Instagram, somebody else's, some famous person's Instagram. You just go online, take some photos from their profiles, and you bring these photos to the lesson, and you ask your students to guess whose breakfast it is. How can we use phones for that? Every student will take a picture of their breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then when they come to your lesson, they'll work in pairs. They'll need to guess what their partner ate for breakfast. Did you eat sausages for breakfast? No, sorry, I didn't eat sausages. Did you eat porridge for breakfast? No, I didn't eat porridge for breakfast. And so on. So you need to guess what your partner ate for breakfast. Great, a great way to drill the food vocabulary or past simple, whatever. Use phones for all role plays where you need to call someone. For example, you need to call you need to call the hotel or a restaurant if you want to book a table. Use their phones. We've got a lot of free free messengers like WhatsApp or Viber. Use these messengers instead of just talking in pairs. Make half of the class stay inside in the classroom. Students A will stay in the classroom, and students B will go to the hallway with their phones, and they'll use WhatsApp to call their partner, and they will just discuss the same thing using their phones. It's much more fun. All phones have got this application where you can see the weather for tomorrow. Well, today it's very sunny in St. Petersburg. What's the weather like in your city? Please tell me in the comment section. How can you use this application in your lessons? Well, you can make them work in pairs. And student A will ask student B, what's the weather like in New York? He'll go to this application. Oh, it's going to be sunny. Or what's the weather going to be in Moscow tomorrow? It's going to be rainy. Very sad. Okay, yes, sunny. Svetlana says sunny. Angelina says sunny, cloudy. Okay, well, it's sunny in St. Petersburg. It's very sunny. You can make a list for your students, so you will prepare names of different cities: Moscow, New York, London, Paris, and they'll need to use the app. First, they will try to predict the weather. So tomorrow it's going to be sunny, tomorrow it's going to be rainy, and so on. And then they'll use the application to check if they were correct or not. So this is one of the ways. You can also use your phones to do some written assignments. For example, you will give one text to every student, small text. Their task is to read the text. Then they will take the phone from the phone prison, and they need to send you a summary of this text on WhatsApp, for example. This is very good because this is unusual. This is the same as to write with a hand and a pencil or a pen, but it's a little bit unusual, and it's always a lot of fun to do this, and you will get an individual piece of writing from every student. You will be able to respond directly to your student if you want to do some, if you want to correct some mistakes or ask some extra questions. And you can also read with help of the phone. So you can basically divide your class in two teams. Team A will read text A, Team B will read text B. And they'll need to make a photo for each paragraph. For example, the wolf and the three pigs. Somebody will be a wolf, somebody will be a pig, pig 1, pig 2, pig 3. They'll make a photo and they will show the photos to Team B later. And Team B will need to guess what was in the original text. Right, so basically that's going to be it. Every phone has got lights. You can use it to play with flashcards like this. What has he eaten? Can you see what he has eaten? So like this, you can see nothing. But if you put a phone behind it, you can see that there is a banana in his stomach. Plenty of things you can do with the phones. That's going to be, yes, it's a banana. I think that's it. That's it. That's it. So, guys, thank you so much, Rob. Thank you so much for inviting me. I really enjoyed.
Thanks for being here and participating in the first one of many, I hope, for Russia. So, great.
Have a good day.
You
Have a good
too.
day. Bye bye.
Bye now. Okay, so next up we have Natasha.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Rob.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Yeah, enjoying the talks so far.
Good. And do you have your slides handy by chance? So we can.
Yeah, I can share them. Yeah, I can share them, no problem. Just a sec. You see the screen now?
Yep. Now just F5.
All right. Whoops.
And,
yeah.
Yep. So great. I'm so glad you're here, and you got 10 minutes.
All right. So, thank you very much.
Take it away.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Natasha Belousova, and the topic of my little talk is the power of asking the right questions in the classroom. And I think, well, I always say the power because I think the way you ask your students about something really affects the communication in the classroom, both online and offline. Yeah. So we're going to test it today. As I got my little guinea pig here, okay? Hello, yeah, this is Soma. It's a guinea pig cow, if it makes sense, all right? So I'm going to simulate a short classroom communication with Soma, okay? Hi, Soma. Hi. How are you? Fine. What did you do this morning? Slept. And what did you do last Sunday? Nothing. And what do you think I'm doing now? Lecturing. And why don't you want to talk to me? Because you've said it all, Natasha. You know, you see. And this is what very often happens in our classrooms when teachers really want to hear something, like to hear a full sentence or a conversation from their students, but nothing happens apart from one single word which comes out. So the question is why, and are the students really to blame in this situation? So let's unpick this little classroom conversation. Ding. So when a teacher asks a question like that, you can see it in the teacher's bubble, what are you going to do this weekend? Very often, they want the students to say something like that. I'm going to do my homework. Using a full sentence, but then you think, how natural is that? Okay, and how often do we speak like that? So what actually happens is this. Yeah. So the teacher asks, "What are you going to do at the weekend?" And the teacher just homework, and that's it. And here you see, it's not really the student's problem, or it's not that the student doesn't want to say a full sentence or can't say a full sentence. Of course, you want it for practice reasons. But it's that there's too much context in the question. Yeah, let's have a look. So if you look at this question, then the part that is underlined is actually the context. Yeah, like, are you going to do at the weekend? And of course, there is no reason for the student to repeat it. So the only thing the student says is what is not clear, and that's the answer to the question what. Yeah. So it makes us think that actually, if we want our students to say a lot, and if we want a lot of language and emergent language to come out in the classroom, actually pop up in the classroom and come out of the students, is that we just need to put less context into our question and to allow the students to say more. Yeah. So here's the principle. The less context you got in your questions, the more opportunities the students actually have when they formulate their ideas. And there is a reason for them to formulate full sentences. Yeah. So let's have a look at a few alternatives. Yeah. So imagine there is a conversation between a teacher and a student at the beginning of the lesson, and they're just talking about, some news, they're sharing some news, and they're saying what things are and so on. And the teacher might ask, so how is your week? Yeah, and have you got any plans for the week? And then in the context, ask something like, and how about your weekend? Yeah, so from the context, the student understands that, well, the conversation is about plans, obviously, but the question itself, how about your weekend, doesn't really have a lot of context in it. And so, you can't just say sleep, like, how about your weekend? Sleep. Yeah, so this conversation isn't possible. So there is a real reason, a genuine reason for a student to somehow start a sentence and formulate the whole sentence, a full sentence you want to hear from the student. And another benefit of putting less context into the question is that the language that's going to come out of the student is more unpredictable. So you don't restrict the student's language, the student's output, with the structure that you want to use yourself in the question. Yeah, like if in your question you say, what are you going to do? So your structure sort of informs the student's grammar already. But if you don't do that, then it's not going to happen. And then the student might say something you can see in the student's bubble here. Well, I'm going to, or I'm seeing my granny, or the student might just say, I go to school, and then on Saturday, and then there is something to work on, yeah? So if you don't put, once again, a lot of context in your question, and you don't restrict the structures or the grammar in your question, that there are much more opportunities for more language to appear in the classroom, and it's not going to be restricted in any way. So you're going to hear what the student can really say. You give your students more freedom to express their ideas, and you definitely have a lot of work to do in the classroom if you want to help the students formulate their ideas better and reformulate their language. Let's look at a few more alternatives of very open questions, and not only questions, very open stimuli that can help you students come up with full sentences and really tell you a story that you want to hear. Let's have a look. So the first one could be, can you tell me about? Yeah. So instead of saying, what are you going to do this weekend? You can just ask your students, can you tell me about your weekend? And you see, there is no context here, and a student has to formulate full sentences and sort of explain what they mean. Yeah. Or again, in the context, you could ask something like, any ideas about the weekend? Any ideas about Saturday evening? And again, there is very little context here to restrict the student's language. Do you know about any plans for, how about, what about? Yeah, and questions like that. So just to put it all together, let's look at a couple of takeaways from what I wanted to share today. If you want the students to speak more and to formulate full sentences using the grammar structures you want to practice in your lesson, that might be your target language, you have to give them opportunities to do that. And to do this, you just have to stop restricting your students' language. Yeah? So keep your questions open. Don't control what the learners are going to say that much. In other words, your learners' output, and create in this way opportunities for emergent language to appear, because then you can work on it. And then you don't teach the language that the book suggests, so the unit suggests, but you teach the language that your students really, that is your students' language. Yeah. So basically, this is what I wanted to say. Yeah, and Soma is here to wish you luck, with your new mode of teaching your students. And if you want to contact me, just have a look at a few ways of doing that. Thank you very much.
Great, Natasha, thank you so much. That was wonderful. And I'm so glad to have you here.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. I'm going to answer a few questions in the chat in a second.
Great. Okay. So we're going to move on. We're getting there. Everything's running smoothly. And next is Ekaterina. So,
Yep.
okay, I hear you, I see you, and do you have your presentation there?
I hope I do. Let's try and share screen.
If not, I have it here.
Just a second. Here we are. Tell me if you can see.
I can.
Fantastic. So I think we should start now, right?
All right. So, thanks for being here. I got the official timer. And
Okay,
by the way,
actually,
those of you new to EFL Talks, this is the official EFL Talks timer. Okay. So take it away.
oh. All right, so hello everyone. We've got 10 minutes, and that's what we are going to do. We are going to have like 3-4 minutes. I will explain you some kind of theory which I love, really love, and then I'll tell you some, like actually 7 useful, I hope useful ideas based on this theory that I provide. So, I'll close the chat now. So, look here, you can see my students, and you can write in our chat what is common between all of these pictures, all of my students. And I'll tell you one thing. I have already typed the address of my group. So I have group for teachers, school with teachers. I have also my own lessons, and I was wondering, as we all wonder, how to make our lessons more productive, more productive, like how to help our students remember things and so on. And like every time I was looking at my lessons and other people's lessons, I've noticed that the results are always different. But sometimes, not most of the times, when you have emotionally saturated lessons, it goes better. Students remember things better, and you can actually notice it not at the lesson that you had, also the lesson that you had, because the speed of the lesson was much better, like it was faster. But also after that lesson, they come back and they remember things. And I wondered how it happened, like how can I improve our lessons? And I found out that there is a fantastic thing that even if you do the lesson correctly, like in a smooth way, but you don't have emotional reaction from your student, usually it doesn't work as well as it could. So meet my best friend. Sorry. Here we are. It is called amygdala. I love this. These small purple things there. Amygdala is involved in affectively influenced memory. So basically, emotional arousal activates amygdala, and such activation results in the modulation of memory storage occurring in other brain parts. We've got also here another friend of ours. You can see hippocampus. We've got 2 actually on the left and on the right. And it works again with amygdala. So the hippocampus is part of the limbic system and plays important roles in the consolidation of information from short-term memory to long-term memory. And it works together with amygdala. So basically, that's true if you have emotions, if you have emotional reaction from your students, they will remember things better. We all knew that. I think I knew that. I'm sure you knew that. But here is the thing. I didn't know why. I wanted to know why. So here is the answer. Amygdala. Remember this name. Now, here are some ways of creating emotion-saturated lessons. And here is the trick. Some teachers say like, so what? I start 5 words every lesson, and then I have something like 15 minutes of attention, of my students' attention.
like I can just do the I can just have fireworks every lesson. Every lesson starts with like boom, wow, and then it's okay. This is wow effect, and I can work with it. No, you can't. First of all, because if you have like fireworks every lesson, it becomes some kind of routine, and it's just not. It is not interesting anymore. Also, it's better to use look, wow effect. It's not about just that you have to surprise your students. You have to get their reaction. So you can discuss their problems and then build some new vocabulary, and it will be your wow effect. You can find something that is really important for them, and that will be also wow effect. Actually, if you have a really smooth lesson, and your students work really hard and very fast, that means that you had your wow lesson, wow effect. So it's not necessarily fireworks or whatever. And here are some ways, like surprise, of course, storytelling. Can awake their memories, achieve ease of use. These are all the ways of creating emotion-saturated lessons. And here I have 5 minutes to tell you about some ways that I love. So the first one is the simplest one. Okay, so use big objects. Okay, this is like kind of cheating in teaching, because big objects they attract attention easily, and students again, don't use it every lesson, but they eat so much time. Like seriously, the preparation is killing me every time. So sometimes, if you have no other ideas, no other options, use the giant object. It will be fun. It will create this wow effect. It will activate amygdala. Children will remember what the words that you need them to remember. Okay, another one. I found. I think you have the same problem. When children are like when you work with preschoolers, they don't really remember letters. I don't know why. So I found this, and it proved to be useful. You help them to remember the shapes of letters by just drawing them. So they draw together and they remember angel, and they remember the shape of the angel. They remember the shape of the butterfly. I still haven't found the perfect explanation for B yet. If you have, please write in our chat, because with the house it works perfectly. With angel it works perfectly. With B, they keep sometimes confusing it. We try to color one wing of the butterfly, color it, and one we just keep like black and white. It helped. Okay, another thing which I absolutely love, I don't know how to call it. I don't know who actually created this task. So basically, you take one paper, and for example, with like a pot, and another paper with some kind of food, like for example, soup. And if you use the torch afterwards, they can see soup through the pot. So I use it like every other lesson. For example, here we use it like we saw the pot. They didn't know what is inside, is inside, but what we did, they were trying to guess food, like where do you cook it, how do you cook it, and so on. You can see on their faces that it worked, absolutely worked. But you can do it with animals, like if you have this fantastic book about the boy who wanted Dear Zoo, the book Dear Zoo, it is absolutely fantastic with this book. Okay, another thing you can see there, oh, sorry. When we work with furniture, with rooms, that's what you do. You just take match boxes and put on them some windows, doors, and so on. We make a small house, and then it's on the right. And then you put inside some rooms. So they have to
guess the rooms, they have to ask for the rooms, they can color the rooms, whatever you want. This proved to be useful. I had a lesson with, I'm sorry for my picture here, but it was lesson with children like without parents. So another thing, I've got 1 minute. Another thing is, okay, every time you hide something, it works. So here we have a kind of garden. They write the names of everything in this garden, and they also write like vegetables. And you hide inside this garden a secret treasure, and they have to say like, is there a secret treasure under the cabbage? Is there a secret treasure under the carrot, and so on. And the last thing, 1 more minute I'll have, there is coronavirus and so on, and actually every year we have such a problem like with our health. We need to teach children how to wash hands. This is my favorite. So before the lesson, give them glitter. They put a lot of glitter on one of their hand. You can also add something like and glue a little bit, and then you start lesson and you do the handshaking, we touch each other, and in 5 minutes we all are in glitter. And you can see that if you pretend that glitter is kind of like virus, we can see that how it works and why we need to wash our hands. Another thing that I love is called pepper virus. I love it. My students, it's good only for preschoolers. After that, you have to explain it differently. But pepper, milk, put finger inside. All children put fingers inside. They got in. Their hands are full of pepper, and just to wash your hands will not work. But if you put soap on it, it breaks down the fat. So the pepper virus is kind of scared of it. Yay, let's use soap. It doesn't work exactly like this in science, but with children, it works perfectly. They will remember. Thank you very much. 1 more minute here.
Great job. And I love the idea of the glitter.
Thank you. It's not mine. I just found it, but children love it.
Yes. If I wasn't allergic to it, I'd do it now. Great. Well, thanks so much, and we'll see you soon. Okay, so let's stop sharing your screen. And where'd you go? Alright, Ekaterina, if you can stop sharing your screen. Let's see. And we'll have Irina. Let's see. Let me unmute you. Second.
Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, perfect. Hi. Can you hear me? Yeah,
yep.
Perfect.
We hear you fine.
Do I share my screen?
Yes, please.
Uh-huh.
And hit F5.
F5?
Yep.
No, F5 is something different.
Oh, isn't it?
Okay.
Yeah. F5, it's Microsoft. Okay, great. So, last but not least, and I thank you so much, Irina, for doing this and hanging in there. You're a trooper. And with that, I've got the timer set. You got 10 minutes, so take it away.
Hi, everyone. I'll just set my own timer. My name is Irina Lutsenko, and I'm passionate about writing. I love writing. Unfortunately, I think you all face the same problem. Most students don't. And sometimes they complete the entire course, especially general English, without writing a single thing. I don't like that, and I think the reason for that is that the exercises in general English course book for writing are extremely boring. They are not conducive to writing, they are not conducive to inspiration, to creativity, and when I look at them, I just know students are highly unlikely to write them. I don't even want to write them. So I'm going to talk about some things you can do or some ways you can revamp the writing tasks in course books to make them more fun, to make them more creative, and hopefully to inspire your students to write. I'm going to look at examples from English file, but you will get the main idea, and I think you can apply all the same ideas to other course books. So here's one example, a letter of complaint. A letter of complaint is actually a great piece of writing to do, a very useful piece of writing to do. Students need to practice all this, dear Ms. Adams, yours faithfully, yours sincerely, and things like that. But the example in the book is someone ordered a coffee machine that didn't work, and then the task in the book is write a letter of complaint about something you bought online. And to me, when I look at it, I know, no, nobody's going to write that. It's boring, it's vague, it's not clear. So I suggest one thing you can do here is you can just change the instructions and make them more memorable and more specific. I have a couple of suggestions here. So one thing you can do is you can come up with instructions like this. I personally came up with these instructions. So you decided to buy a toaster as a birthday present for your boyfriend. You went online and ordered a stylish silver one, but when you opened the box, it turned out they sent you a pink one. So write a letter of complaint asking to have the toaster changed. Now this is more memorable. You know, the pink toaster will probably linger in your students' minds. And this is also specific. It's not something you bought online. It's a very specific thing they have to write about. So it will be much easier for students to write, to respond to this prompt. If you have very creative students, I have another suggestion for you, so you can take it one step further. And here is another task I have. You've just heard that your favorite yogurt flavor will no longer be available. You've already written a letter asking to bring the flavor back, but the flavor was not returned. Write an indignant letter of complaint to the CEO insisting that they bring the flavor back. And this is more creative. Here, the students can have fun with expressing their indignation, with coming up with reasons for bringing their favorite flavor back, and they can have a lot of fun. At the same time, they can still practice all this formal language like yours faithfully and so on. Okay, so done. A boring task is now a fun task. Another example, a covering email with your CV. Again, a very useful task to do. Again, all this language I'm writing to apply, all that is absolutely necessary. But then when I look at this task, you know, the vacancies in the following areas, administration, hospitality, catering, again, I'm bored when I look at this. So I think maybe my students will be bored too. What do I do? So here's something I came up with. This is actually an actual article I read online. This is true. Dream job. Netflix is hiring professional binge watchers to rate their shows. This is so much fun, you know, professional binge watchers. That's an interesting job. Many of us would probably like to apply for it. And the thing I do is I actually take this idea and I write the instructions in the exact same way they were written in the book for that boring task. So the instructions can be, we're looking for dedicated and enthusiastic TV and movie superfan. Responsibilities. Watch, rate, tag, annotate TV shows and movies. All applicants must be appropriately qualified. And this is a lot of fun because students can have fun with coming up with reasons, with their qualifications. What is appropriately qualified for a binge watcher, for a professional binge watcher. And this is so much fun. And you can go online. There are actually lots and lots of articles about very unusual jobs. Here's another example, agree or disagree. A very good type of task. Many exams have this task. It's again very useful to practice writing an introduction, the main body, conclusion. But again, the topic I see in the book, it's not a good idea to cram the evening before an exam. obviously it's not a good idea. I don't like this topic because it is so obvious. So I want to spark the students' interest. I want to add some controversy, and this is something I come up with. It is a good idea to cheat in an exam. Now, this is a controversial topic. Well, of course, it's not a good idea to cheat. You shouldn't. You absolutely shouldn't. But let's face it, people in Russia do cheat, and very often it's not even frowned upon. So this can be a controversial idea again that will linger on your students' mind, and they will be debating whether to write what they really feel or whether to write something that sounds nice, that something formal, like you shouldn't cheat, or whether to write that actually yes, you should cheat. And then they can have fun with it. Some other controversial topics, like it is a good idea to be on the team of the first colonists on Mars, and there are actually solid reasons for and against this. People would benefit from having the necessity of sleep removed from their lives. People probably have never thought about it. So again, this is something they will be thinking about, something that will stay on their mind. And this is something that you want. And one more example is a short story. Obviously, it's a good idea to practice narrative tenses. Students, by all means, they should practice narrative tenses, past simple, and so on. And the book gives an example, and then the book gives the following prompts. It was 11 o'clock when the phone rang. Highly creative students will be able to write something like this, to write a good story, but I think usually students will only write a good story for this prompt if they force themselves to write a story. I don't like that. I don't want that. I want students to have fun. So I have creative writing prompts here, and I included something that will trigger the students' imagination. So I want to help them to let their imagination run wild. For example, if I'd known then what I know now, I never would have stolen those socks. How did I end up stealing them? Well, and that's, stolen socks. What could be the story behind the stolen socks? And I think that can really spark students' interest and imagination. Something a bit more neutral, like he wasn't supposed to know about that $20,000 at all, yet somehow he found out, and then you unwrap this story. He found out how. Or this is a bit more challenging if your students can do it. I like it. I rushed around the house in terror, turning every tap on full. So I think, you see, this is how you can just revamp all these boring tasks in book, all the standard run-of-the-mill, bog standard. They are all the same in many books. You can just add a bit of creativity, a bit of insanity, and help your students have fun. More importantly, I think you can actually do it completely effortlessly, because all you need for this is just your imagination and type a couple of lines. You don't need any fancy handouts, any fancy worksheets, or something like that. And one more great benefit of this is they can still practice the format. They can still practice all those past tenses, narrative tenses, or the format of a formal email, a letter, and something like that. So I think that's it from me. I think I finished 1 minute earlier. Thank you all so much. If you have any questions, I will be happy to answer them in the chat, or you can find me on social media and follow me online, and message me if you have any questions about these tasks or any other tasks. I have a lot of creative writing prompts that I will be happy to share. Thank you.
Thank you, Irina. That was great. And yes, you ended early too. Amazing for your first time. Congrats. That was wonderful.
Thank you.
And thank you so much. So this almost brings us to the end, and I just would like to beforehand, Antoine, if you're still here, if you could turn on and join me. Let me turn your video back on. Alright, should be able to turn on your video now. There you go. Okay. Great, so we've done it. The first EFL talk for Russia.
Good job.
And, well, we had a rocky beginning, but it was nice. I learned a lot about the software, things with Zoom that need to be adjusted, and using OBS software for the first time. So, now we're
trial and error. Let's try.
Yeah, but things went nice and smoothly. You got some great speakers. I thank you for organizing, doing the tough.
You're welcome. I love them all. I mean, to me, it was really a pleasure to organize because every single one of these speakers, I know some of them from St. Petersburg, other that I met around the conferences around Russia, and I love them. You know, it was when you talked about this, I was immediately on board. I said, yes, good. I know great people here, very creative, full of energy.
Yep. Well, some great ideas, and this is nice because one of the things, I do these all over the world, and it's interesting to see the cultural differences too. And, you know, you can study cultural differences of teachers, of students, of methodology, and it's wonderful, and it's free. So we encourage you to stick with me here. Let me just share my screen again with the slides and give a little bit of a wrap up here. Well, we want to encourage you, number one, if you enjoyed this, we hope you join us next Sunday for EFL Talks Italy. We're going to focus a little bit more online, just because everybody's sort of stuck. If you notice, we have a lot of Italians and a lot of people who are in Italy. They're having a very tough time, so, you know, let's show them support and be there with us. And let's see, before we end, and if you haven't had enough of me yet, in just a few hours, you can actually hear me be the talker, where I'll be joining the call interest section, which is computer assisted language learning, part of TESOL International. And I'm going to be talking about the need for proper training of teaching technologies. So that's also free. If you just go to the Facebook page or anything else, or you go to my Facebook page, the link will be there. And we really hope that you get involved. EFL Talks, since the beginning 5 years ago, our whole objective is to do this for free, keep it fun, and help teachers everywhere. So if you're a teacher and you have something good to say, send me a line. You know, we are always putting things together. Now that everybody's locked up at home, we'll be doing a lot more. We have another one which is in the planning mode right now, and we're also looking at another one for the Caribbean before the end of April. So join us, and everything, let me go back to my people. We'd love you to be one of these people here. And for any information that you need, if you just go to EflTalks.com, that will send you everywhere. Our Facebook group, our books, the YouTube videos, give you information about the speakers. We're updating the website now so we can get all the speaker bios and everything in there. But come be a part of us. So I want to thank all the speakers Special thanks to Antoine for putting this together. And especially want to thank all of you for spending your Sunday locked up inside with us, like you have a choice. So, everybody, please stay healthy, stay safe, and we hope to see you here again. Okay? Antoine, thank you.
Thank you, Rob, for everything.
Okay.
Good job.
All right. Bye
Everybody
now,
take
everybody.
care, stay healthy.
You too. Oh, everybody who's here, turn on your, why don't you turn on your camera, and we can all have a big group wave. If you got your camera, speakers, yay! Great to see all these happy faces. Oh, that's wonderful. Great. So, thanks again, everybody. Have a great Sunday, and stay healthy. Bye now.
Bye-bye, everybody.